Hello Infinite Magicraid community. Today I've decided to do something different and start like some small series on PvP tier list. I think that is something that could be helpful to a lot of people, as some of the players are more player versus player focused and like to actually see a tier list for that. The first video I'll be doing is for early game PvP, but I'll be using the same set of heroes for all the tier lists that I'm doing for PvP. So the first one will be for early game, then the next one will be for mid game or mid game to late game, and the next and last one will be for late game. So yeah, this one will be for early game, and let's get into it. I might have missed some heroes, please let me know if I have, but I think I've covered the ones that at least I think are pretty good in themselves. So everything you see here is already good enough for early game. And let's start it off. So Atkins, early game, probably not very good for PvP because, well, first of all, she needs E3 to really start pumping damage, and then she needs 200 effect res to have her crit rate bonus and damage bonus. Well, if you're a spender, obviously this would be an S plus tier, or at least an S tier. Maybe an S tier because Erato now exists and she stops Pursuing attacks, but we're going with the general population of the game, and that's a C tier. Agatha, if you manage to get her E1, exclusive 1, that's when she gets her auto shield, she becomes immune to CC. She is actually an S plus tier in my opinion. She's a really good counter to Nita, because Nita can be dealt with direct damage dealers, and also there's really a few direct damage dealers you can obtain early game. Now Anton I've put here for really early game. We're talking just finished campaign and around there. He does have turn meter boost, and also he stuns when he dies, as far as I remember. I haven't read his skills in a while, but he's pretty good. I would even consider him a B tier over Atkins, but just because Atkins has shield and consolidation, I'll just put them in the same tier. A Sindhu, if you manage to get her exclusive 1, where she gets her innate turn meter by 30%, she will be faster than Space and will win you all the speed battles. Well, yes, all of them. She's amazing. Even if you don't have exclusives, she can still be good, but she would need someone to land CCs before that, as she gains extra turn meter 5% for every CC crowd control you land. CC is a term we use for things like freezes, stuns, and so on. Alright, Beatrix, obviously an LT. She's not obtainable for free-to-play players, but just goes directly into S plus tier. Even at exclusive 0, she can be very good with her stun and damage to bonus she's granting. BA, probably an A tier in my opinion. He's a little, how do I put this, behind in terms of PvP quality. His passive is good, but maybe it would have been S or S plus tier if the passive had a higher chance of perking. Okay, so Bissarin, this one is an S tier for me. He's amazing. He's granting crit rate, crit damage, and attack up to the target he selects. Also, it cleanses the target from all buffs and debuffs and makes it act right away. So he's really good with a direct damage dealer, but he's also good with any other good DPS, like Nita, for example. Okay, so the new hero, Blaze, or Blage, I don't know how it's pronounced, but let's call her Blaze. I think she will be an S plus tier because she's granting a lot of things like crit damage up, attack up, stuns, speed up, whatnot. A lot of bonuses there. So if you have a good direct damage dealer, such as Agatha or like Bully or Nilua, or there's a lot of them, but the good ones are very limited. She would be good. For early game, though, I'm not quite sure I would put her in S+. She is a non-LT, so you can easily use eyes on her if you decide to do that. Okay, so Bully, I would say probably A tier if you have exclusives on him. He, I think, counter attacks, so to say, when the enemy plays, and again, direct damage dealer. He can deal with Nitas, can do crazy amounts of damage. Maybe I would put him in B tier because people would mock me that I've put him with Ben Austin. Okay, Brainout for early game, she requires too much to work. And although I really love her, she's just not there. She's lacking. Let's see, Chelsea. She does a crazy amount of damage, but doesn't bring too much for PvP. I believe her E1 or E2 or just her passive, I don't know, makes her immune to poison damage. So she can be a good alternative to deal with the early game Nitas in PvP. And also she's a really good damage dealer in PV, like in general. So let's put her around the middle there. Diamo, if you manage to snatch her, she's pretty good. Because first of all people build her with a good amount of speed. She's giving turn meter boost, consolidation, def up, speed up, AoE stun, cleanse in some form, and buff removal too. She's a little slower, so she would need some help with turn meter if you wanna put her in a cliff, and I think that's where her place should be in general. Okay, Donald, easy hero, definitely not early game doable, suitable. He needs at least E3 and he needs E5 to really start working, and that's just not early game possible. Ether, I think she can be pretty good, she can be amazing, she can actually soak damage from an Ether or a Melkio and save your team. And people really neglect her, and early game she can really be super annoying to deal with. Okay, Alec, I would say about somewhere between S and A tier. He's really good to protect your main DPS. He eats up to 3 debuffs from your main DPS, but you need some other form of combination to stop the crowd control landing on your whole team, because even if your DPS doesn't get CC'd, it doesn't matter, your whole team is CC'd, so it's kind of a meh unit. Elsa, if by some chance you manage to get her E3, she can be good for 3v3 and Advanced Arena. For Classic, not so much. Her E3 is the big one for PvP, so I'm just putting her here. Erato, obviously, S plus tier unit, even T0, she's just that strong. Bunny, again, like requires E3 to work, and she actually needs a direct damage dealer, and we have really limited options early game, even mid game, so actually rank her A tier. She can be really nice if you are a spender. She's obviously S plus tier, but she just requires E3 and it's too much to obtain. Faxian, he can actually be a better alternative to Space if played with enough Saga City units, and if you have him exclusive 2, I believe, I'm not quite sure, so I'm just gonna use the same logic as I did with Esther and put him in here. He's a conditionally good hero. He has Resurrect on his S2, the turn meter boost. His S4 deals a good chunk of damage. Now Freud, I wanna put an S tier. He's obviously good with exclusives. At E0, I'm not sure if he provides enough, but he does have speed up and attack up and ally protection, so also I think he has the one layer of silence absorption for your whole team. I don't know which exclusive that was, but he's pretty good here. Now Gilly, remember I've talked about lacking good direct damage dealer options? Well, she's one of the good ones, especially in early game. Her S4 strips and deals crazy amount of damage. Obviously she needs exclusives, but even without them, if we're strictly talking early game, she can deal a good amount of damage. She can deal with Mamuks, Nitas and things like that. Guana, probably around the A tier mark. She gives turn meter boost, some damage reduction, attack up, not bad, yeah, around there. Hengi, S tier plus, even at T0, she's an amazing protector. She has removal, she deals damage. She can actually be a good option to deal with Atkins if you start encountering these. Imercado, really hard to say. I think he requires a lot of support to work, like poison support, like Willa, Freud, Runai and so on. He might actually be worthy because his passive is like suicidal, like Poppers. I'm gonna rank him here around the middle ground. Indra, it really depends. If you have exclusives on Dianmo and Indra can be good, but I really don't expect you to have exclusives and have them both early game, so I'm just gonna put him in B tier, maybe even C tier. As you progress through the game, further into the game, Indra really just does not work in PvP. He's too slow. Even if you take one unit from the enemy team, it's too slow. Okay, BJ, S plus tier, even at T0, he's just a focus without cooldowns on his turn meter boost. He's S2. Jenny, she's really lacking for me. She's a good direct damage dealer, but really not that great. If you manage to get some exclusives from her, she would obviously be a good DD alternative for you, but I really don't think she's that good. I think she's one of the weakest new heroes that we've got. JB, one of the best, if not the best direct damage dealer in the game right now. K, Santa there too. Nordic, I'm not gonna talk about Nordic. He's the first mythic you should get, no questions asked. Focus, S tier, really good for 3v3 or Advanced Arena. He works really well with cleavers. Okay, Ninwa, if you manage to get an exclusive from her, she can be a good alternative to dealing with Nasil or Ascendo, because if the enemy team acts first, she would counteract them with S4, and her S4 cleanses your team from one debuff. So that's a really good alternative if you want to work on her, or you get her to E3, and that's where I put the good conditional heroes, so to say. Sinove can be good to deal with early Naseos or early Santas. Her S4, she gets to use it when she gets frozen, and it lends speed down, which can buy you some time to deal with freezes. Ronai, I would actually rank her around S tier, because even without exclusives, she still has her like an impact in the game. I wouldn't advise you to build her at least until E2, I believe was her turn meter bonus to your teammates. Willa, I would put the same. Actually, no. She's really a conditional hero. Like, she needs poisoners. Her E3 is the good one in PvP, so maybe even C tier. Yeah, I'm ranking this on the go, so expect a lot of changes. And now, come to think of it, Ronai really is not that good. I'm too attached to Ronai. I think she's not that great. Seth, actually, better than Ronai, because he doesn't really need exclusive to be good. He has shields, heals, stack up, I think tenacity up. Yeah, pretty good. Quinlan can be good if you get lucky and get him exclusive too. He can be good. Let's say B tier is good. But other than that, really not that great. Panda, even at E0, really good option to deal with ground control. Tuck, I would say one of the better early game options to deal with freezes and land freezes. Pretty good unit. Narrate, I really wouldn't advise you to go for PvP with her. She can deal some damage, gain some turn meter when the enemies act for like multiple turns, so she can in a way cut them, but it's really not reliable. Nita, she's an S plus tier. I would say it's one of the best early to mid game units for PvP. Popper, if you get him E3, he's an S plus tier. If not, he's about here, I would say. Well, no, he's about here because he's not usable without exclusives, but with exclusives, he obviously becomes one of the best PvPers in the game, because he has the same innate turn meter as a Sindhu, and then it just becomes a speed battle. Obviously, a Sindhu can still win the speed battle with some help from her friends Nasil and Lydia, but I'm not gonna talk about that right now. I'll rate them both S+. Zhongming is really good unit. I would not advise you to pick him before you pick your core of mythics, which is Nordic, Nita, Nereid, Ben Austin, Melkyu, and then you can consider Zhongming. He's really good. Has trip on his S4 or AoE buff removal, and his S2, his initial form, the one with the heals and damage reflect, is really good against cleaves, so he works well in a tank team. Okay, Rister, definitely nice plus tier for early game. I would advise early game players to use an eye on him and get him to E1, because that would be a really good cleave option. So cleave is a term used to reference teams that try and go act first before the enemy team and kill them before they have a chance to act. Zora, I don't know why I've put her here. I think she requires too much to work, and she might be good if you have like Will, Imercado, Runai, like a poison team, sure. Now, Rumble, if you have an E3 Rumble, he's an amazing unit for War of Thrones and Sacrifice the Dead, so put him in the conditional row here. Wukong, obviously, S plus tier. A T0, he's not really that great. A T1, kind of. E2 is his big PvP improvement because it cleanses one debuff. And obviously E3 is the broken exclusive that everybody wants. But even so, I would actually put him in S plus tier. This obviously for spenders, so consider that when viewing this. Space, one of the best early game speed units. She grants turn meter to all your units in the team, then her S2 grants speed up and speed down on the targeted unit. She's really good. She can be really good in a tank team with Nordag because the faster your Nordag puts up S4, the faster you're gonna protect against a cliff, for example. Or you can combine Space with Rister and then any good DPS. So Space Rister DPS is like the classic early game cleave that you would see. Or even things like a mixture of the two, like Space, Nordic, Rister, Nita, and then Cat. That's a team you'll be encountering a lot in the early game. Okay, so Johnny is basically Alec, but I would consider him a little better because he has a chance to cast Effectress up too, and he actually deals some damage, direct damage. Can actually help you in a way to deal with Nitas, but right about there. Cat, she's one of the best units for early game. She has Cleanse on her passive when you get her E4, I believe, for the double turn. She acts twice, means she's cleansing 2 debuffs from your team, and you want her to be the fastest unit in your team in order to be able to counter Sindo or Naseo. Yeah, that's about it. For her, Guana, same as Bisudan, she's a really great option for early game cleaves. She makes the unit you target act right away, and her passive is actually similar to BJ's exclusive 1 passive, where she would save a unit from dying. Really great in that regard. Lele, around here, if you gather by some celebration event, she has turn meter, some crit rate, crit damage if I remember. Jewel, probably not that great. Yeah. Okay, for some reason I don't have all the units here. Let me adjust that. Okay, I've quickly added the units I was missing. Mark, really good option for early game direct damage dealer, and that's where she's good at, really. I probably did Gilly too much of a favor to rank her that high, so I would say between A and S tier. Yeah, Lysander is really fun in early game PvP. He can take out teams passively. If you get exclusive on him, I would actually build him and use him in my primary team. because he can deal with a lot of stuff just passively attacking them. Makin early game, if we're talking very early game, he would be a nice plus tier, but he quickly falls off. As soon as people start getting Nita, she's immune to dot damage over time, so he's not able to deal with her. So maybe around 8 tier, I'd say. Nasio, obviously S plus tier, if you get him exclusive 1, where he freezes at the start of the turn. Mamuk, he can be really good very early game, but then he quickly falls off, so we go to 8 tier here. Melkio, if for some reason you decide to go that route and get Melkio, or you already have him at T3, he's an amazing unit. He needs exclusive 2 to actually start dealing relatively good amount of damage, and E3 is more damage on his S2. People decide to build him purely with crit damage because his S2 is guaranteed to crit, so you don't need the crit rate, so you just stack attack and crit damage, and preferably the Devour set. Lydia is just too broken, one of the most broken LTs in the game. Moloch can be alright, early game, can take out teams, a good cleave alternative, so to say. Morikis, I would actually rank her between S and S plus tier. Her only downside would be that you cannot deal with Nitas with her, because she deals dot damage. Moxie kind of has the same downfall, so I'd put her here. She's obviously good, but there's better options. And then Madlena, if you somehow went for her, well, you did yourself a disservice. She can be alright, but I wouldn't rank her any higher than this. And I think that's where I'll end it. I think adding too many heroes would just get it too confusing. I think these are one of the best heroes currently that we have accessible for early game, excluding the limited heroes, of course, but I've just put them here for people that are spenders and have an interest in PvP as well. And I think that's it. I might be missing something, but you never know. Let me know if I'm missing something. Okay, thank you guys for watching. That was it.